This will be the first time I've ridden Paisley with a bridle. Now, I've been introducing this over the last couple of days from the ground, and I have been flexing her back and forth. I'm still riding her in the halter, but this will be the first ride with the bit. And she's gotten really solid about the mounting process. However, we run into trouble when we make contact with the bit now. You see, she has basically tuned me out, and she has reverted back to some of her reactive behavior, and she's not paying attention when all I wanted her to do was flex, and she felt like she had to leave. Now, with an animal this big, you're not going to force him to stay there. There's no point in even trying, and to be perfectly honest, if I had tried to stop her right then, I can guarantee you I would have gotten myself into a really bad wreck. There is no fighting with her. We're just going to let her go. If she wants to move, she can move. We can fix that later. And I'll be perfectly honest with how tight she was, and this is basically a panic state for her. I was looking for a spot to get off. If things went bad, I wanted to know I would have a way to bail out and not get flipped over on. But I'm staying as relaxed as possible and just talking to her, and I just keep asking her to turn her head a little at a time to the right. You can see she just keeps following that circle, and right there she starts to relax. You see how her gait slows down, and she lets herself follow her nose better. She's trying now to relax and understand what's happening. I can guarantee you this horse has had a really bad go in life, that somebody has ripped on her mouth like there's no tomorrow, and I'll be honest, it ticks me off because there's no point for that. When you're on her back, she does not know that it's okay to relax her jaw and to give to the pressure in her mouth. She was never taught how to give to a bit. I just have a plain snaffle on her right now. Previous people have ridden her with a double twisted wire mouthpiece, broken mouth, with big walking horse shanks on them. She doesn't know how to give to a snaffle. Nobody taught her what a bit means, and so instead of teaching her, everybody has figured, well, let's just put a bigger bit on her. We'll just make it bigger and we'll get control that way. And that's not where the control comes from. The control comes from teaching her how to give to pressure, which is what she's having to learn now. And the way she's gapping her mouth and her body's really stiff and she's having trouble coming through that turn for me, that's all because she was never taught to give. When she loosens up and she flexes for me, and she'll relax, and she'll soften her jaw. When they soften their jaw and figure out what you're asking, they quit gapping their mouth. You see, almost every time I make contact, her mouth opens up. It's just because she doesn't understand yet. There she stops. And that was all a mess, but that's okay because that's our starting point. And now that she's been able to kind of refocus, she's trying to be good again. And she's just still kind of stuck in that reactive state of mind where she's not sure what's going on because I've just completely changed everything up on her. And there she's starting to flex. This is huge. This is where the amount of time that we've taken to build her confidence and for me to gain her trust to help her through all of this has been incredibly important, because she could have easily gotten us in a wreck. This could have gone very badly, and I'm really, really happy with how she did. I'm very proud of her. And there you see her flexing pretty nicely both ways. And I'm just working on helping her soften up. She knows how to do that from the ground, but that flexing when somebody's up on her back, after some of the history that she's had, can be scary for her. This is relatively difficult. And now that she's relaxed, I'm going to go ahead and step off, move the saddle around, And you can see I'm actually using the bucket to step up on her now. Her owner prefers to use a mounting block. And with how far along she is now, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that I know that she's comfortable with somebody getting up a little bit higher than her, standing next to her. You can see I'm not really being sneaky with anything. I was kicking that bucket pretty hard. It was making a lot of noise, and it's really windy today. And I actually had a couple horses tied up at the trailer. One of my other horses up in the barn was hollering like a fool. So there's a lot of commotion going on right now, and she's being really, really good today. You can see that time she's a little bit more comfortable. She actually sighed. She really took a deep, deep breath and blew it away while I was up there right before I stepped off. And because of that, I got off and rubbed on her and just gave her some relief from that pressure. You see she cocks a leg when I step down. And just like when I was getting her used to being ridden again, I got up there, moved around, rubbed her on the neck, rubbed her on the rump. Just making sure that she knows it's okay for me to be up on top of her, that it's okay for someone to be up there and rub all over her, that she's going to survive this, and it's a good thing. This is a good ride. And this time she flexes without leaving. That was really nice. And with how stiff she is, with how little she really does understand, those little gives are enough for right now. That's a great place to start. She kept her feet still and she tried to give me her face. That's enough, and we always build from that. And there, that was really nice. And there I actually did ask her to walk off. I don't know why I was looking at my hand like an idiot, but I asked her to move, and she did. And she just walked off straight, and she was really good. She followed her nose when I asked her to turn. She went the direction I wanted. And now we're just going to walk around. I'm going to let her relax. I'm going to change the direction. And she did that pretty nicely. See, and I'm starting to rub on her neck and trying to make sure that she knows that she's doing really good now. I'm holding the middle of my reins, and I'm actually resting a hand on the horn, not because I think something's going to happen, but to kind of keep myself from trying to mess with her too much. I don't want to start picking on her and really trying to rein her around too much at this point. And right here I ask for a stop, and she does it. She tries, and then she goes to walk off again. Now, if she had really insisted on walking more, I wouldn't have made a big deal about it. You see right here, I ask her to flex, and she thinks she needs to leave. With everything that's happened, if she needs to leave, she needs to leave. There's no way I'm going to stop her, and I'm going to get myself or her or both of us hurt if I try to. So you see, she wants to keep moving. That's fine as long as she follows her nose. And you'll see, we actually get in some trouble in a second. Right there, she locked up. If you saw, she went to kind of brace up against that bit. And instead of pushing the issue, I kept a small amount of pressure on that rein and just encouraged her to move forward instead. There are times you really have to pick your battles, and if I had really insisted on her bending her head all the way around and walking that little circle some more, chances are good she would have reared up on me. And we definitely don't want to start having that. So there's going to be times where you're going to have to judge if it's going to be detrimental to allow the horse to move off, because that wasn't so much resistance as much as it was confusion and locking up and kind of reverting to some fears that she has from whatever. And so on that one, I kind of let her get away with it. And you'll see later on, I do go back and fix it. And I ask her to follow her nose a little bit more to the right. And I ask her to just be a little more comfortable and let me guide her around more. But for this ride, I'm not going to push anything about any of that. I'm going to let her, for the most part, kind of do what she wants and just carry that bit. And if I make a little bit of contact and she tries to do the right thing, I am going to be perfectly happy with that for today. That's more than enough. You see right there, she actually kind of offered to stop when I set my hand down and basically quit riding. And so I just rub on her. And she went to walk off, and when I picked up on my left rein, she actually went ahead and stopped for me. And so I'm going to go ahead and flex her from the ground again. Even though I've been riding her and she's done a little bit here and there with the flexing, I'm going to go ahead and step down and help her make that connection without the stress of having somebody on her back. And I flex her in both directions here. You know, she's almost done for the day, actually. And just a couple times each way. Sorry, kids are out in the other room, if you couldn't tell. I'm going to bring her back over by this bucket, and just like in my last video with her, we just want to make sure, because this was one of the biggest issues that she had, was the getting on and off, or the getting on and waiting to do something. She would take it upon herself to move off when you sat on her. So I'm going to go back, step up in the saddle, rub on her, and step right back down. And right there, I'm really happy with how she's been today. So I loosened up her cinch. And just give her some room around her belly to breathe. Give her a good rub. Let her know just how good she was today and that everything she did was fine. I want her to feel like a winner here. She did excellent considering her history, and just what I am figuring out from dealing with her. I think she was wonderful for this lesson.